You're listening to the Shared Security Podcast, exploring the trust you put in people, apps, and technology, with your host, Tom Eston. In episode 108 for February 17th, 2020, the U.S. charges 4 Chinese military hackers in the Equifax data breach, how Israel's entire voter registry was exposed, and details on the encryption provider that was secretly owned by the CIA for the last 50 years. Hopefully you've been paying attention to the news and the telecom carriers with their recent promotion of 5G mobile networks and devices. And while we have a long way to go to see full adoption of this new technology, there have already been concerns about the health risks of 5G, which right now are unknown. But even if governments and health organizations say there is no evidence that 5G or other wireless technology could be harmful to the human body, it's still highly recommended to put your smartphone in a Faraday bag to block all wireless signal when you're not using it. And that means Silent Pocket has you covered. Pick up one of Silent Pocket's stylish Faraday bags at silentpocket.com and be sure to use discount code SHAREDSECURITY at checkout to receive 15% off your order. Welcome to the Shared Security Weekly Blaze podcast, where we update you on this week's most important cybersecurity and privacy news. These podcasts are published every Monday and are 15 minutes or less, quickly giving you news that you can use. In breaking news last week, the U.S. Justice Department announced a 9-count indictment against 4 Chinese officers of the People's Liberation Army who are accused of committing the data breach of consumer credit bureau Equifax in 2017. The Equifax data breach compromised the personal details of 150 million Americans, that's roughly half of the United States population. Details were also released in the indictment, which stated that the 4 hackers spent weeks within the Equifax network stealing company secrets and personal data by routing traffic through approximately 34 servers that were located in nearly 20 countries in an attempt to obfuscate their real location. Sources also say that it's very unlikely that the U.S. government will actually take these individuals into custody or try them in a court of law. However, the purpose of these indictments appear to send a clear message to China that the U.S. knows what they are up to. This is, of course, not the first time that China has been blamed for a massive data breach in the United States. Chinese hackers were also blamed for the Office of Personnel Management data breach in 2015. That breach exposed the names and social security numbers of more than 22 million current and former U.S. federal employees and contractors, including 5.6 million fingerprints. The other big breach China has been blamed for was the massive Marriott International data breach, which exposed the personal details of over 500 million Marriott customers. So what's the end game for China, and why might they be targeting U.S. companies and government organizations? Well, the speculation abounds. They could be gathering as much personal data as possible to be used for a future attack, blackmail on a massive scale, or for further analysis of U.S. consumers and how China may be able to leverage this data to their own competitive advantage. One thing is clear: trade secret theft is a well-known activity of the Chinese regime, and according to the FBI, China may be the biggest foreign threat to the United States. Elections across the world seem to have major problems when technology is introduced into the election process. From the smartphone app being used to cast votes in Seattle to the Iowa caucus app that was coded so poorly that it significantly delayed the results of the election, there is no shortage of news stories that show the problems when traditional voting systems are attempted to be modernized. So what recently happened in Israel shouldn't be a surprise, but what is a surprise is how easy it was to access voter details for 6.5 million people. Apparently, the political party of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu uploaded the entire Israeli voter registry to their Elector voter management app, which had exposed developer usernames and passwords within the HTML code on the main web page of the app. That's right, simply right-click to view source in your web browser, and you were able to log in as the developers to access all the data. No real technical skill required. This is also not the first time that there has been a security problem with this particular app. Back in September of last year, there were other flaws reported that included vulnerabilities that could be used to modify the vote count. Look, smartphone apps and other modern technology is just not ready for use in the election process. In every case, these apps are all poorly developed, don't go through any security testing, and are simply rushed out the door just hoping that they will work. This is why cybersecurity experts have for years said that voting or counting votes by smartphone apps or by using the internet in the election process is a really bad idea. Let's just hope that governments worldwide start to realize that the traditional way of voting may still be the best way to secure an election. And now a word from our sponsor, Edgewise Networks. The biggest problem in security that remains unsolved are flat networks in cloud and data centers, with unprotected attack paths that allow threats to move laterally to cause data breaches. But microsegmentation using network addresses is complicated and takes too much time. But there's a better approach: Edgewise Zero Trust Auto Segmentation. Edgewise is impossibly simple microsegmentation, delivering results immediately with a security outcome that's provable. At the core of Edgewise Auto Segmentation is Zero Trust Identity, which allows workloads to communicate only after their software identity has been verified. Malicious or unimproved software is no longer allowed to communicate. Identity-based protection provides more coverage with fewer policies to make Edgewise simple to deploy and manage. No changes to the application or network are required. One solution protects virtual machines and containers in the cloud and on-premises. To stop lateral threat movement and prevent breaches, visit edgewise.net for a demo and to see results within minutes. In other government-related news, a story in the Washington Post last week revealed that a Swiss encryption equipment company called Crypto AG, in business for over 50 years, was owned by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency in partnership with the West German BND intelligence service. This is according to CIA documents obtained by the Washington Post. The encryption equipment sold by Crypto AG was used by more than 100 governments around the world, ironically, not China or Russia. In fact, evidence now supports that the US was using this backdoor to monitor communications at various times throughout history, including the Egypt-Israel peace accord meeting in 1978 and the Iranian hostage crisis in 1979. Surprisingly, Crypto AG products are still being used all over the world. However, the company was sold and liquidated in 2018, and the assets purchased by two companies, Cy1 Security and Crypto International. Both companies have said that they have no ongoing connection to any intelligence service, but it does bring into question the massive amounts of ethical issues, deception of Crypto AG employees, and the fact that they were selling backdoored systems the entire time the company was in existence. However, in other documents obtained from the CIA stated that this program, codenamed Rubicon, as, quote, a triumph of espionage, and, quote, the most profitable intelligence venture of the Cold War. The full article, which we have linked in our show notes, is a fascinating read and dives deep into the CIA's operations regarding the ownership of Crypto AG and the CIA's relationship with the West German BND. It truly reads like a spy novel. This story also makes you realize that our governments are still trying to backdoor products and other encryption services. And you never know which ones may be backdoored already. This is one of the many reasons that open source encryption and related security products are so important, and why proprietary encryption is always a bad idea. That's a wrap for this week's show. Visit our website, sharedsecurity.net, for previous episodes, links to our social media feeds, our YouTube channel, and to sign up for our email newsletter. First-time listener to the podcast? Please subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you like this episode, please share it with friends and colleagues. Thanks for listening, and see you next week for another episode of the Shared Security Weekly Blaze.